Hello everybody, welcome to the TraderMerlin Show. It is your Thursday edition, our final trading day of the week, as tomorrow will be closed for Good Friday. Hope you guys had a great trading session out there today. And thank you, Mr. Powell and the Fed, for continuing to prop this market up with just an unbelievable amount of fake money. Gotta love that one out there. For the show today, what do we got cooking? We have David Warner going to be joining us here in a little bit. We'll start off with a little bit of a profile of David so you guys understand who he is, his background, and his style with regards to the currency markets. Then we'll go into some listener questions. I already have a couple good ones. Ryan sent in a great one on relative strength, which we'll talk about as well. So let's kick things off with our markets, shall we? We've got a lot going on. Obviously, there were some nice market movers, crude oil giving back some of the gains today, and that is where I'm going to start the show. Here is your crude oil chart. This is a 5-minute, so you can see the long slide it had really since the wee hours of the morning at about 6:30. The daily is really where you see the difference here. I'll bring up the daily for you. As you guys can see, the big red candle engulfing all of yesterday's, looking pretty ugly. I did buy one contract right at the close today, also shorted an S&P, but I'll tell you about that one in a second. I think it's a bit overdone, this sell-off we've had the last 3 or 4 days, and I do think you're going to get some positive news over the weekend. So that's what I've got cooking. As far as our guests out there today, I never gave you guys a proper shout-out. So hello, everybody. Hello, Sam and Vernon, Lewis, Natalia, Big Eb. Ruben as well, good to have you with us, Ruben. Kevin, always a pleasure having you. Jorge, the group's getting bigger and bigger. Harrison, Fiona, I feel like the girl from Romper Room, Boss Poopa, Tomasina, nice to have you with us, and Ted as well. So good to have you all with us today. Again, keep those comments coming. Hit that like button if you like today's show, which I'm sure you will as we progress because David's just awesome. All right, crude oil, that's your worst performer, down 7.53%. Pretty bad. Down to 23.20 on that futures product. Again, I told you if it gets to 20, I'll be buying a bunch. Yes, people say maybe 17 is the target, but I still believe we're going to be bouncing higher here just because of the economies of different countries relying on it. So crude oil was your worst by a good margin, 7.53%. And of course, when you have the Fed making statements that they're just going to basically print money ad nauseum, the term now is brrr, as that printing press just keeps going and going and going. That means Treasury yield's probably going to take a little bit of a hit. They were down 4.58% to 0.729. That's what you saw the yield fall to today on that 10-year. You see a nice little green candle today, which basically erased yesterday's losses on that futures product, and that is number 6. Cryptocurrencies take the stage at number 5. We have Bitcoin down 0.9%, 7,279. Really nothing exciting except for what happened around 4:30 in the morning, where most of you were probably asleep. I'm going to go out on a limb and say you were asleep. But that was a big drop, and then it bounced back and kind of stabilized for the remainder of the session, but still down about 1%. All right, I'm going to keep going up. We'll go to the NASDAQ. So back to Clik. Here is your NASDAQ 100. As you can see by the price chart, there's a little positive move for the NASDAQ. Not much. It's a long topping and bottoming tails, but really the end of the day was, we'll just say, almost unchanged. It was up 0.77 for the NASDAQ composite, which put it at 81.53. I'm going to keep rolling so we can get to our guest. S&P 500 is your next one. S&P was up 1.45%, 27.89. I didn't think we'd get to that 2,800 mark, but if you'll notice here today on our intraday activity, we hit 28.09. That's a heck of a bounce. I have had a couple people saying that they really felt we were going to get up to 2,900 level. We may see that. I just don't think it's going to happen. You can all thank the Fed for that one. We should probably let the markets do what they should do, which is go down. But it's okay. Natalia says the same. I was short on the ES today. Rough. Yeah, well, that's where you just got to have stop losses in. You know, I got stopped out to the tick last night, and I was so pissed off. I really didn't trade much today. I just put those 2 trades on at the end. I have one short, and just because I have a feeling we'll get bad news over the weekend, and yeah, but that's just a gut feeling, but no real exposure there. All right, I'm up to the top 3. S&P was number 3. Number 2 brings us to the GC, which is gold. Boom. We ripped through that one. Finally got some conviction and follow-through on gold today. Now, percentage-wise, it doesn't look that great. It's only 2.96% move. But that's a $50 pop on the price of gold, which put it at $17.34. So to my friend Katie, who's wondering, when should she sell her gold coins? You might want to hold on to them a little bit longer. We just had a breakout, and we could see this thing move up. I'll show you the weekly here just so you get a perspective of the longer term. We got a long way to go back before we start finding any supply. Now, your next level, which you've had marked here for some time, is right around that $17.80 mark, so another $40 or so in gold before you see any real supply. After that, you've got to jump all the way up to about, call it 1900. Woo-wee! Gold, feeling good. How about that gold, Brendan? I know you're loving it out there. All right, final one of the day. It's Russell 2000, the rut. We mentioned it yesterday on how that close yesterday was a real positive. It broke above those highs from 2 weeks ago. Great follow through today. You had some nice moves in that Russell 2000, which put it up 4.62%. A 55-point pop. 1,246 is where we ended up with for the Russell 2000 on the session, making it your number one performer on the day. So all in all, a very nice day out there for the Russell, leading the pack. Hopefully some of that puts some green into your pocket today. All right, well, that will do it for our opening segment out there. I've got a guest waiting in the wings who's been on Power Trading Radio many, many times, although this isn't Power Trading Radio anymore. And fortunately, it's not Friday, so I guess I could have had a drink today, but no, I'll have my cocktail for Friday afternoon. But our guest today is hailing from the great state of New York. He's on a massive quarantine lockdown. We have none other than Mr. David Warner with us today. David, how you doing?
I'm good, buddy. How are you today?
Fantastic. Looking good. I thought I was making progress with my beard. Look at I'll do a side-by-side comparison, folks. Look at this. This is about the same amount of time beard growth. Give us a side profile there. Look at that thing. God, I can't do it. I don't know how you...
It's my Corona beard.
Oh, man. When God was handing out facial hair, he said, Merlin, not for you. Not for you. All right, David, give us a little update. How's life going for you in New York?
It's a lot of fun, a lot going on. Just hanging out in bars and restaurants and being in public. It's just been wonderful.
Aren't your bars and restaurants closed? They're all closed.
No,
right?
yeah, I'm joking. Yeah, okay, it's completely shut down, man. It's
well, same here. We're all shut down.
It's so weird. I walk around New York and it's just completely it's boarded up. And there's just nobody in the streets. It's wild.
Bizarre stuff. Well, it's funny when we take a step back. Obviously, none of us want this. We all want this to be resolved so that we can, go about our normal lives and interact. But if you were to think about a profession, which is the most perfect profession for being quarantined and staying at home, we're in it, my friend. This is it.
That's true. It's true. The coronavirus has been, it's been awful as far as everything, not being able to do anything. But as far as trading, it's been an amazing year, for me so far. And I think there's just the opportunities that have kind of come out of this, just as far as trading is concerned, has been amazing.
Yeah, it's been pretty good. Let me do something different. Now, you've done this in the past, but since this is a new show, I'm trying to get an idea for our viewers and anybody who may come to TraderMerlin website in the future or our YouTube page, a little bit of understanding who the guests are. So I want to do a little thing called Trader Profile and understand who is David Warner, how'd you get involved in the financial markets, and maybe tell us a little bit about your trading style and what asset classes you trade.
I've been in Forex since I started my professional career. My first job out of college just happened to work for a currency trading brokerage firm, one of our old partners, FXCM, and this is all I've ever done. My main focus has always been Forex first. I look at stocks, look at options a little bit, stocks and futures, but Forex has always been kind of my focus. I started out working on kind of a retail desk with just the average person trying to make a little money speculating into the market. So I've been on that retail side of things. And then I was able to shift and move over to a professional desk where we were working with the banks and institutions, professional traders managing other people's money. And it was really interesting to see, just the difference between kind of how retail traders think and make trading and investing decisions versus kind of those professionals managing money.
All right, so I want to dive deeper into that, but walk me through your style. I know you trade all different asset classes. Are you a shorter-term day trader? Are you a swing trader? Do you trade every currency pair out there? Or you whittle it down to a small basket? Give us a little bit refining of your style.
Sure. I only trade dollar crosses or currencies against the yen. I don't trade any cross pairs. I would say the yen is probably my favorite currency to trade. If I place 10 trades, I would say 8 out of 10 of them will have the Japanese yen involved. Yeah, for sure. And that's it. So I have a basket of probably maybe 12 pairs. I trade all of the major currencies except for the Swiss franc. That's the only one that I don't trade. But and so my focus is not that big. And I would say that as far as just like my trading style, I do more of a price analysis than I do chart analysis. So I don't spend and I can show you what I'm talking about, but I'm more focused really on price than I am on kind of what a chart looks like. So there's certain price triggers that I look for, and then I only look for those currencies that are around very specific price points, and that's where I make the decision on what I'm going to buy or what I'm going to sell.
Excellent. That's exactly what I was looking for. I mean, you narrowed it down there. You're kind of just looking for a certain criteria to happen with price. I whittled down to about 12 different instruments. And if I could, without copyright infringement, I would play the song, I Think I'm Turning Japanese. I think I'm turning Japanese. He's a Japanese yen guy. All right, cool.
Yeah.
We've all got our reasons, and he's trading the Japanese yen. All right. Perfect. That's exactly what I was looking for. Let me bring up a listener question here. This is one that came in a couple days ago. See if I can find this here. Let me bear with you guys as I try to get all this stuff ready. There we go. I'm working with multiple screens, so I'm messing things up as we speak. But here is the question. This is from Ryan. Ryan says, can you go more into depth about Forex relative strength? And I don't mean the indicator. Thanks, and keep up the entertaining work. Look, let's real quickly, I'll explain what he means by that. There is an indicator out there, everybody, that's called the relative strength index or relative strength indicator. And really what that means is how is any security performing relative to itself? So when you look at RSI, that's not that stock against or security against any market. It's just internally how it's performing against itself. What Ryan is asking about here is relative strength, meaning how does this specific currency or even stock, if you're looking at it, stack up against the others in its peer group. And I know that that's something you spend a lot of time looking at is how does this currency stack up with these ones to find which one's stronger or weaker, correct?
Yeah. Yeah. Are you talking to me?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, so I like to use Forex Factory. There's a way to set up Forex Factory where you can, the Forex Factory scanner, where I can just look at the different percentages and how things are moving. So I like to set up Forex Factory. I'll look at what's the percent change over 48 hours, 24 hours, 4 hours, 60 minutes. And really, I'm just looking for momentum. So I'm looking for, either green trends, red trends. I don't look at trend any more than 2 days at a time. So okay. I don't look at monthly charts, weekly charts, and looking at that type of analysis. I look at markets basically 48 hours at a time. What is happening this 48 hours? I don't care what happened in the last 48 hours before that. It's only really kind of what's going on in this very short period of time. And honestly, I feel like that's the smartest way to look at the market in this whole coronavirus world that we're living in right now. Chart analysis is, we see a lot of these currencies trade at levels that we haven't seen in years and years and years. And so I don't look, back months, weeks, that's pretty much it. So, currency. So I would if I looked at, the Forex Factory scanner today, I look at something like Australia dollar, New Zealand dollar. Over the last 48 hours, those have the strongest trend, the strongest uptrend. So
you mentioned Forex Factory. I know that's something you like to use for relative strength. Where on the website are you going to so I can walk our viewers through it?
Okay, cool. So if you go to the main, did you see the scanner at the top of the page?
A scanner at the top of the page? No, I see forums, trades, calendar, market, brokers.
Okay, so click on, you see the Forex Factory symbol in the very top left corner? Yep. Just click on that. It takes you to the home.
Yep. Oh, okay, yeah. So the thing that says scanner, yeah, I got you. Okay.
Okay, good. So if there's those on the left where it says bid on top, you can click on those words and then you can have a little bit of a drop down. So I change all of them to percent change. And so it's percent change over 48 hours, 24 hours, 4 hours, 60 minutes. And that's how I just kind of measure momentum and if it's continuing in the same direction. There's a lot of different ones out there in which someone can use. I mean, you can I can't remember some of the, a FinViz has a relative strength. Basically you're just looking for who has really the strongest trend right now. And I can just even with if you just look at the percentages, you don't even need a chart to figure out kind of what the trend is of the day for whatever it is.
And this is great, guys. I'm hoping the audience picks up on this. This is the beauty of how certain people absorb different information, because I'm the complete opposite of David right here. David's looking at this chart or this table off our left here, and if you look at it, he's looking at that percent change in 60 minutes, and he's looking for those numbers to see maybe which one has the biggest percentage or not. If you look at what I look at, here's how I do relative strength. I'll bring up something like, here's just TradeStation. You can use stockcharts.com and pull up what's called a perf chart or performance chart. And let's say what we were looking at just a minute ago with David was the 60-minute time frame. So I'll make this a 60-minute chart. And we will do, oops, I'm on the wrong computer. I got 3 computers running, so I'm a little bit of a confusion going on. But here's 60-minute time frame. Okay, and I can now say, show me just since today. Well, let's go back a couple of days. Let's go back to the 7th of April, and I will do a price percentage chart from there. And what this does is I don't even need to look at a number. I can just say, wow, I don't know what currency pair this is, but it is way stronger than all of the others. So if I'm looking to go long on something, based off of relative strength, I'm looking at the Australian dollar. And you can see that because in the last 2 days, since the 7th of April, it's up 2.7%. You have I'm colorblind here, the British pound is up 1.2%. And then your weak ones here. You're looking at the Swiss franc down 0.8%, and also the US CAD is down as well. So this will help me find out which one might be moving more, either up or down. And I'm a visual person, so it's interesting that you brought that up because we're both working off the same information. It's just how we absorb that information. You're a bit different, which is totally fine.
Yeah.
Now, when you're looking at relative strength, what emphasis does that make for your trades? I mean, I know you mentioned you're looking for specific triggers, so maybe we can cover 2 stones there. How relative strength helps you, and what are those triggers?
Okay, it's actually very simple. I was listening to what you were saying earlier about oil and excuse me, my phone's going. I was listening to what you were saying about oil, and I agree with you that I think that it's probably a little too low. So I was starting to look for kind of buy setups in commodity-related currencies like the Canadian dollar, Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar. So if you want to pull up like a dollar CAD chart, I can kind of walk you through a little bit of the price points and how I'm doing it.
All right, sounds good.
So USD CAD.
What's that? USD CAD?
Yeah, USD CAD.
All right, I got to go back let's go to a different platform here. So I'm going to be bringing this up for the viewers out at home so you guys can see it. We'll go full screen and show you USD CAD after I get, I should probably just pay for a subscription to this software since I use it all the time and they keep giving me sales pop-ups. USD CAD. All right, so I got the USD CAD on a daily basis up here on our screen for the viewers.
Okay. So I picked up some of these price points when I was working with some of the more professional traders at the firm that I was discussing earlier. So instead of like kind of looking at, kind of really looking at charts and really getting into, crazy chart analysis, it's actually pretty simple. I kind of look at supply and demand levels that don't really move. So if you think about the other asset classes, you think of anything in equities, you think in the futures, options, everything is priced in a 2 decimal place world. Mm-hmm. So Forex, you're trading in a 5 decimal place world. And what we need to do is bring this 5 decimal place world back into the 2 decimal place world in which we live in. So there's very specific price points that a lot of these big institutions are going to put focus on. So if I look at price points that end in, so if you put it on like a 4-hour chart. Okay. All right, and so the real big price points would be like something that ends in 000s, or something that ends in 250 or 500 or 750 or 000 again. So if you could start at, say, if you can find like the price like 1.3250, so like 132.50. Okay, and I want you to put a horizontal line at 132.50. And then put one at 135. Okay. 137.50. Okay. 140. All right. 142.50, and then you can stop at 145. Just so you can kind of see it visually. Okay. Yeah, I'm drawing all kinds of lines on here. So let me just real quick. I've got it at 132.50, 134, and my lines are a little bit off. Huh? 135. Yeah, 135. I got 134 and 135. No, not 134. Okay, 135. 137.50. Yes. And what was the other one? 140. 140.
Oh, 140. I went 134. I'm special. I actually had that one there earlier. Okay, perfect.
142.50 and 145.
Okay. So it's interesting because he's not picking all. 142.50 was the other one.
142.50 and 145. So basically, these are 250 pips apart from each other.
Okay.
So if you look, I'm really focused really more on those last three digits. So the 000, 250, 500, 750, and then it will always repeat. So these are, and if you kind of live if I look at this market and bring it back to the do decimal place world, these are the price points in which I'm kind of looking to execute from. So what I'm doing is I'm using that 48-hour, relative strength, and just kind of looking at what is that current trend. So if I see that it's green, I'm looking more to buy, and if it's red, I'm looking more to sell. I don't use set and forget orders at all. I don't use limit orders. I have no outstanding orders whatsoever. I only really place on market orders. If I do set any type of outstanding order, that outstanding order is going to expire by the time I'm done looking at the market. So there's never going to be any type of set and forget. So if you see those lines that you're looking at those are the price points that I'm going to buy and sell around. And the goal, where you get in and where I get out is always in the exact same spot. So if I'm getting in at 250, I'm getting out at 500. If I get in at 500, I'm getting out at 750. So your question on how long can a trade be open? I have no idea. It's going to complete that 250 pip move. I don't know if it's going to take days. I don't know if it's going to take weeks. But to be honest, I'm giving you a 4-hour chart to give you kind of like a visual. But to be honest, the time frames and the charts, they don't really. It doesn't matter. Yeah. It's just I see certain things around certain prices. I'm looking at whatever that trend is for just for the momentum. I'm using things like Bloomberg 5 things to start your day, or like Scotia reports or Forex Factory. I don't look at the calendar at all anymore. I don't care what the job numbers are. I don't care what retail sales is. None of that matters in the world that we live in right now. So I'm just looking for I'm looking for things that are bigger than that, like what's going on with OPEC, what's going on with the Fed, and just kind of looking at that to kind of help pick that direction of which way to go. So it's very simple. There's not a lot to this. It's just I find very specific price points. If I'm seeing it's more of the short terms are kind of more of a green, relative strength is green, I'm going to be looking more to buy around that price, or sell, or if it's red, I'm selling around that price. But
let me ask you real quick before we go too far from it. You mentioned that the economic stuff doesn't matter, and my eyes just kind of widen because we know that's going to be major catalysts and drivers for price. Let's say, for example, like today, we had unemployment claims, which actually the number surprised me. I thought it was going to be way bigger. But we have seen sometimes where a GDP number comes out, a CPI, or some number that just creates an unbelievably sharp move in the market. So let's say it's right near one of your points that you're looking at buying or selling at a specific currency pair, and an announcement's coming out, in, let's say, a couple hours. Does that sway your decision, or is it still, I'm just sticking to it?
With the world that we live in right now, and no one's paying attention to the calendar. If we were talking 3 months ago, I would be digging into that calendar with you. But right now, everyone knows the economy is crap. The job numbers are absolutely awful. And what did the stock market do? The stock market went up because the Fed is just going to keep printing trillions of dollars to pump it up. So the way that I'm kind of positioning myself right now is for example, using this dollar CAD chart. We're under 140, right? We're kind of right at that price point. I sold that 140. So I'm right now, my next goals, I'm going 140 to 137.50. And I don't know how long it's going to take to get there. You want to look at it this way. What makes more sense? Is this market going to go from 140 to 130, or is this market going to go from 140 to 150? So it's right now I'm not looking at it from that dime to dime aspect because everything happens so fast in this world. But if we can get some type of production cuts, we have the Federal Reserve printing money. What kind of makes sense to me, I don't have a crystal ball, is that this currency pair would start to fall.
Yep.
Because we're below 140, I'm going to say, okay, now it's 140 to 137.50. So you're going from whatever price you just picked to, kind of the next one. But you can see how this chart kind of, a little, in a sense, it kind of proves a little bit what I'm trying to talk about. But if you look at just those price points, when one gets above one, the next logical place for it to go is to the next one, and it works up and down.
And let's be clear, if you guys see this picture here, what David's saying is those are points where it has a higher probability of, again, nothing's going to stop exactly on those numbers and turn. You can see it kind of waves above it a little bit, but there are certainly some active turning points at those various numbers out there. Pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And, this is the way, this is just what I'm doing right now. But like the way that I think that people need to kind of position themselves in the Forex market is that you're speculating in a market that isn't really built for that. You're in a market that facilitates international trade and investment, as I mentioned earlier. So you just want to kind of look at it logical. I'm looking at it in this sense where it's kind of like what I would call like a big quarter to a big quarter. But you could do this on a shorter term. You could do this on kind of like a smaller view. If you want to look at it from penny to penny, I'm going from 140 to $1.39 or $1.30, because this is where the market's got to drift. So I meet a lot of people in classes. I meet a lot of traders, and they're trying to find these supply and demand levels in between pennies. And to be honest, I just feel like you're going to get run over. Right. So it brings a logic to your strategy. So you're not like you're executing at the same places every time. You're taking profit at the same prices every single time. You can use these chart timeframes, things like this, and if you want to give yourself some type of confirmation, you can be like, okay, if a 4-hour candle closes above or below one of these prices, that's my signal that we're going to try to move, to the next one. And you can use the time frames kind of for confirmations. But like, if I was in the whole kind of set and forget world, I've totally disconnected myself from that. And I honestly, the way that this year has been going, I don't know if I'll ever really set, those outstanding orders ever again. It's just, I like to kind of look at the market like this. I don't need to kind of go back in time and, find something that hasn't been hit in a bajillion years. Like, right. I'm just I want to look at the market from this price point to this price point. What happened yesterday? Yeah. I don't really care.
No, that's good. I like it. Joseph asked a question, which I think you already answered. He says, how do you choose your entries after doing this on Forex Factory? If I'm correct, Forex Factory is just giving you a clue as to which ones may be stronger or weaker. You'll take that information and just simply look at these charts and say, okay, where are those price levels, right?
Yeah, that's it. And, I gave you this with so you see there's a lot of them that are kind of sitting around those type of prices right now. So you see dollar CAD is at kind of that 140.000. There's CAD yen that's sitting at, just kind of stick with the CAD. It's at 77.5, which is that is that price point. And so if it's you're above it, you buy. You're below, you sell. What I like about the yen, which I haven't really explained why I trade so much yen, is it's a total risk on, risk off currency. It reacts to whatever's going on in the world. If it's positive headlines, if the equity markets are up, things are going to go up against the Japanese yen. Mm-hmm. And if it's in the opposite direction, is if the equities are down, if things are falling in price, the yen is going to strengthen. So typically I'm looking at what's going on in the equity markets. Are the equity markets up today? Are they down today? And if they're up, I'm going to look to buy things against the yen. And if they're down, I'm simply going to look to sell things against the yen. And that's really kind of my big focus. My favorite currency is by far pound yen. Because it's one of the fastest, it's probably the fastest moving one that I would consider kind of it's a major currency. Pound crosses typically move the fastest. So I put a lot of focus on the pound.
Let me, I got a question here from Lewis, I think. Yeah, is it? Lewis says, for the people that would want a little more confirmation on USD CAD, let me just USD CAD again. I'll bring that one up for you guys at home. A little more information on the USD CAD. would it feel safe to say, the text scrolled off the screen, you guys are chatting good out there today. Would it be safe to say that if we get a 4-hour close below 139.25, so I'm going to take some of these lines off and try to draw this out for everybody out there. Mine does it every day. My TradeStation does that stupid sound effect. 139.25, which is right about where the cursor is. We'll leave it right there. It's head on to 37.50. So he's got a much smaller time frame at least, but 37.50. So basically saying if it breaks those two levels, did that make sense to you? If we get a close to low, so basically we're breaking these lows that we've established for the past week or two.
It sounds like whoever asked this question sounds like has been in one of my classes before. So there's other smaller term price points. So I'm giving you like the big ones: 250, 500, 750, 000. On smaller time frames, we can move into things that end in 25 and 50 and 75 and 00. So you're just you're taking 1 0 away. So to answer your question, Lewis, number one is I only really trade from these price points that you have. The 139.25, which is kind of considered kind of like a band that kind of holds that price to 140. And so he's waiting a little bit. He's waiting a little bit longer for more confirmation to get in, which isn't really something I'm doing right now because it does kind of mess with your risk and reward if you're waiting for it to drop further before you sell it. Now, what you're looking at is you have a 250 pip profit. And so basically you can take a stop anywhere up to 75 pips and you're going to get 3.3 to 1 if you're using 75. You can use 50 pips, you're going to get 5 to 1. You can use 25 pips and you're going to get a 25 to 1 risk to reward. So if I trade, let's say I use a 25 pip stop, and every time it hits 140, I'm either buying or selling it. If I'm using 25 pips, I can be wrong on that buy or sell 9 times, get it on the 10th, and I'm going to make money on that position. So it's like you can be wrong a lot of times, and if you're kind of sitting there and you can watch it and you can do it, like if you do it 10 times around that price, I'm gonna bet you're probably gonna get lucky at least once around, before you get that 10th time. You know what I mean? So it's just a numbers game. So he can wait, for a little bit more confirmation, but I know what price point he's talking about, but I don't really trade off of those price points anymore.
All right. I'm going to put this up on the screen here. If you guys want to get in touch with David, look at that dapper. Look at that picture. This is the pre-beard picture. It's from your conference photo. You're looking so dapper out there. His Twitter handle is @WarnerDollar. So if you guys want to follow him, I know he puts tweets out there about the markets every now and again. So if you want to follow him.
I'm going to get more active on it. I guess in this career, I haven't been as active as I had been in the past, but it's something I want to get. I really want to get back into. I'm still teaching the classes with Online Trading Academy. This Wednesday I have coming up. I'm doing I think I'm doing some type of special event. I don't know what time it's exactly at yet. So anybody that has access to the calendars, keep an eye out for it. But I think I'll be doing a class with them on Wednesday.
All right. We like when you teach out there, buddy. It's a good thing.
Yeah. I miss it. I love teaching and it'd be nice just to be in a classroom and be in a room full of people again. I can't wait for that.
Yeah. No, I miss the big classroom. It's funny. Big Eb says your picture I just showed looks like you're 16 years old. It was taken like 2 years ago, so you're still looking pretty good.
I don't know which one you're looking at. I really don't. I don't know which one it is.
It's the one from conference. You're in a tuxedo, looking all dapper.
Oh yeah. Oh man. Yeah. Okay.
I've been told ladies, that's for sure.
Compared to this, it makes me look older, I feel.
A recurring question has come up a few times. I was going to wrap up, but I want to just really quickly get to this one, which I think you kind of answered, was about the stops on those. And most of the people have been commenting. So when you find those quarter point intervals, are you just kind of putting your stop on the other side? Is it an arbitrary amount? Or are you using some calculation there?
It's up to 75. So what it is like, here's the thing about this. Like, so to keep this system, you have to be able to sit on your hands when you're in profit. So what's going to happen is like, you can always find an excuse to close a trade out in a loss. So let's say that I'm using a 75 pip stop, right? And I'm using 4-hour candles. It's just like, that's the chart that I'm looking at. If I see 4-hour candles close on the wrong side of the direction that I want to get in, I can just close that trade out. So you can always find an excuse to close a trade out early in a loss. But if that trade is moving into profit, there is no ifs, ands, or buts. I don't care if you see 100 pips and you're like, 100 pips, that's good enough for me, I'm going to take it. Or if you see 50 pips, 60 pips, 150 pips, like, it does not matter. You can never close those trades out early. So you're picking a number up to 75. 75 is what I would consider the max, because if you get anything more than that, you're going to mess with that risk to reward. And so, like, the smaller stop you use, the more you're going to have to sit there and watch it, because the idea is it's going to be a numbers game, and prices get stuck around these prices. So, like, if you're using 25, 30 pip stops, you get stopped out and you just give up on that currency, you're going to miss that, hit that 140 again, and then, you know, it just depends on how much time you have to kind of focus on this. The more time you spend kind of watching charts and things along those lines, the smaller stops you can use. But if you're a little bit more of a hands-off trader, you know, obviously you can make your stop a little bit bigger. But it's only around these prices. There's no ever like I can take profits early. There's no ever I can, you know, move stops. There's no moves. I don't really move them ever. Like, it's just like, I'm either going to, you know how many trades I have watched where I'm up like 225, 200 pips, and I'll just watch it move all the way down and stop me out.
It's the worst.
And because as soon as you start getting in the habit of taking things early or like whatever, you're going to screw up your risk reward, and you have no trading system whatsoever. If you're kind of thinking about what am I going to do as like when the trade is going in my direction,
right.
It's just,
trade management, key thing. David, thank you for coming on. I'm going to cut it here. I'll probably get you on in the next couple weeks. I know you're quarantined, so you really don't have a lot going on out there. So it'd be great if you and I could do this more regularly.
Yeah.
I know you're doing some events for Online Trading Academy, which is great. So the Online Trading Academy graduates, you can contact your local centers or online at your MyOTA for more information about any of those classes. But I'm sure there'll be a lot more stuff coming up here, more announcements. So thank you so much for coming on. Again, if anybody wants to get in touch with David, I actually made this little piece here so you guys can see it. It's Warner at Warner Dollar will be his Twitter handle, and he'll be posting some stuff on there, I'm sure, and I'll probably be responding to a bunch of it as well. We'll be going back and forth, trading barbs on social media out there. So, David, thank you so much. I hope it stops raining. It's raining out here in California as well, but have a fantastic evening and a better weekend, and look forward to talking to you soon.
All right, buddy. Talk to you soon. Take care.
Guys, that was David Warner, longtime friend of mine. Actually spent a lot of time out in California. He lived out here for a little while, and we actually got to work on some great content. If you ever go to otacademy.com, there was some great content that he built almost the whole college education thing, which is just a really good program out there. If you got anybody who's got kids in school, some great free information there about when to file and all these different things. But I'm a long way away from college, and I got no kids, so wasn't for me. All right, it's Warner Dollar is his Twitter handle. If you want more information about anything that he's got going on, you can send him messages there. Of course, if you're only Trading Academy graduate, he will be doing some classes as well, which is exciting news. Good to get the classes back up and running. All right, what do I got for the wrap up here? I didn't see any last minute questions come through, although you guys have been extremely chatty out there. Pretty awesome. And yes, I was excited. We actually did have our over 100 today watching live. That's a pretty good mark to have. Yeah, 105 watching. Thank you so much. And you notice we're almost at 1,000. Like, we're almost there, yes. And I've got some things planned. Like I say, what I'm doing lately, in case you guys haven't figured it out, is like every week I'm doing a test run of something. So this test run for this week is the new internet, the new computer, and the new background. Next week, I'll probably be trying something different. Now, one thing that's been bugging me is there's a lag time, and it's actually through YouTube. It's nothing that I have total control over, but YouTube will make latency. So basically, when I see your guys' comments, you are about 30 seconds behind me. Next week, I'm going to try to do something where I can go in the YouTube settings, and it may interfere with the stream. So we'll be very critical next week. I'm going to try to drop that latency so I can maybe get to the point where it's real-time interaction. So when I screw up, I can't cover it up, but I can also get your responses snap of the fingers. And they say it takes a bit of a drain on the system, but this computer I built, I spent some money, and it's a badass machine, so it's going to do rather well with that. So we'll try that next week. I'm also going to do some different set design pieces, some sound dampening in here because I sound a little hot on this mic because my office doesn't have a lot of furniture in it. It's just, 4 walls and a kind of a tiny space. So we'll be making more changes, and there's some other surprise stuff hopefully will be coming down the pipeline as well. So hopefully you guys enjoy that. All right. Brendan, you struggling with the trading? Or are you just frustrated with your work? Yeah, I think we're all frustrated with work. Well, actually, I don't work anymore. This is my job. Just no paycheck coming from it, but that's okay. We love doing what we do. I wanted to real quickly let you guys know what was coming out tomorrow. I actually changed that out. I was looking at Forex Factory here. I'll probably do this for a little while until I can make it look better. Here is the Thursday calendar. There really is nothing going on for tomorrow. There's nothing major going on, but I will bring it up anyway, and I'll show you guys what that looks like. Here is your Forex Factory calendar. This is what you got cooking for Friday. And there still are some announcements coming out for other currency pairs. You can see New Zealand and Australia already on a bank holiday. There is some stuff coming out for Japan. I usually remove China from the economic calendar because I just don't trust any news that comes from China. We do have some inflationary numbers tomorrow. You can see Friday, April 10th. We have CPI numbers for the U.S. They're expecting those numbers to drop. Other than that, not a ton. It's really maybe some of these FOMC members. So not a lot going on. Harrison says markets are closed tomorrow. Get drunk tonight. I may have a couple of beers tomorrow, but I'm still going to be doing the show for you guys. Tomorrow will be an all Q&A day. I have so many questions I need to catch up on, and I apologize as some of those questions you guys sent in were rather timely, and because I haven't gotten to them, those prices have already moved. So unfortunately, I may not get to all of them, but I will do my best to get to all your questions. If you do have any questions, there is an easy way to send them to me. I'm taking all of the questions that come through, every single one of them, and I'm putting them in a template so I can kind of bring them up more and more live during the show. I will do as much as I can to get all your questions answered. But go to TraderMerlin.com. You simply click that button there that says send a message. That's the easiest way. Of course, the thing that you guys have all been doing, which has been helping us out a lot, has been sharing this show, subscribing to the podcast on iTunes. You just type in TraderMerlin or go to YouTube. That's the best one. We're almost at 1,000 subscribers. If you like David, which I thought he gave a very simple, concise explanation of how he trades Forex, give us a little thumbs up button out there and make sure you share this with your friends. One other thing I found really interesting, I was at a friend of mine's house having dinner the other night, and she has Google Home. And so she's playing Spotify, and it wasn't working out. You know what? I set this, or TJ, when he set up this podcast, it was supposed to go to 5 or 6 different podcast sites, and it's on Spotify. So I was just sitting there having dinner, and I go, okay, Google, play Trader Merlin podcast. And I was just thinking, that'd be really weird if it worked. And all of a sudden, boom, snap of the fingers, it played that episode that day of Trader Merlin podcast. I was like, that is pretty darn cool. So if you have, I wonder if it does with Alexa too. I'll have to try that out at home. But yeah, the weird things that we get excited about when you have your own show. All right, that will do it for today, everybody. Again, thank you so much for all the participation. Again, if you have questions, send them on in at TraderMerlin.com or just email me directly, TraderMerlin@gmail.com. I will have some nice guest announcements coming up for next week as well. Monday and Wednesday are going to be some really cool guests. I'm pretty excited about that, but that will do it for today's show. If you guys have any questions, send them on in. Until then, happy trading, everybody, and I will see you tomorrow. Be safe because it's a day off tomorrow. Don't get too crazy tonight. I'll see you tomorrow.